Hey guys, welcome back to Ultimate S&S. Today we're talking bug out gear, what you should be equipping inside your stuff. So as you can see here, before we tear into this pack, we have a waterproof case. It's going to have your sleeping bag, sleeping materials. You can put tents and things like that in there as well if you want to. I usually will build a lean-to shelter, and then you have your sleeping bag and tarp inside this waterproof container here. So we're going to get this thing opened up. Let me move it down here so we can get to it better. And we're just going to go through this pack one thing at a time here. So something important, you want to make sure that you have your toiletries and stuff. So you have your toothpaste, toothbrushes and things. And of course your toilet paper, you want to make sure you have that. Otherwise you're going to be using leaves if you're not really prepared. Always try to make sure you bring some sort of backup. Clothing, shirts, thermals, those are always great options to have. It may be summertime where you're at, but what you're going to notice when you get down in the deep parts of the woods and stuff, you can actually run into some very cool evenings, especially up in mountainous regions and stuff as well. Plus, you don't really know if it's going to be a winter escape or summer escape. So very small clothing you can throw in there. You'll make sure you bring you some thermal shirts as well. These are just some basic items. Typically, I'll bring in and bring different types of food with me as well. So I typically want to make sure I have around at least 72 hours of food. Now you can be foraging on the trail, but if you run into an area where there's not a lot of food, this is going to save you. It's going to save your life, man. See what else we got here, guys. Oh yeah, so very important. I always carry this type of bug spray. This has the 40% DEET in it. It's going to help you keep from getting ticks and things. So you can actually end up getting Lyme disease and stuff from certain ticks, especially out here on the east side of the country, guys. So always make sure you keep a good can of bug spray with you. And you're going to want to periodically go in and check and change that out because, after you keep something for a year or two, you don't want it just laying in the backpack. And then you want to end up needing to change that out to something that's actually going to spray when you hit the button, guys. All right, so this here, because I do have a bad back now, you don't have to put something like this. This is actually an inflatable mattress now. It's not one of those real big ones. This is a small one. It's actually self-inflating. When you pull this out, you open a tab, and it's got a type of a foam material in it that will pull oxygen in, and then you just seal it off. It's going to give you a little extra padding between you and the ground. And not only is that going to help your back, but this is also help keep the chill out of you. If you're laying directly on a bare ground and you don't have a sleeping bag or something to lay on or a tarp or something, you're going to find it gets very cold very quickly. It's going to draw that heat out of your body. So I would highly recommend something like this, guys, for those who are trying to figure out what this is. You can get them online, Amazon. They may sell them at Walmart. Not really sure. You have to check around. You can usually find stuff like that at camping supply stores. Like I say, the self-inflating is nice because you just open up the tab and it's going to inflate. I'm not going to pull it back out to show everybody because it is kind of a pain to put back in that pack, guys. It really is. Then, of course, we have our poncho. You always want to make sure you have a rain poncho. You're going to be surprised just how much stuff we're actually able to keep in and on this bag. And you want to always position your stuff in a way where it's not going to impede you on a hike. So as you can see, we're going to pull this up. I think I have this compartment here emptied out. But something you don't see, but can now, is you have areas for different types of rounds. So this would be for like your shotgun rounds and stuff. And a good survival shotgun, those single barrels, or even the breakdowns that I've shown you on this channel in the past. If you haven't seen those, go to our firearm playlist and you're going to be able to find those. You want to have ways to carry ammo pretty easy as well. Now I do usually have a vest and even these little socks that you put on the butt of the firearm that holds your weapons or your ammo as well. So that's something to do. But if you look here on the side of the pack, we do have a traditional lamp. We have 2 canteens. You want to make sure you're using the stainless steel canteen, guys. The reason for that, if you need to boil your water, which I would recommend boiling water, it's not going to react with the aluminum. Anytime that you start heating aluminum, you're actually releasing fluoride emissions and things like that as well. And it's going to actually cause some issues later on in health. So you need to think long term, what's the safest way to do this? If you're using plastics, you're going to get BPAs and stuff. So stainless steel is the way to go with it. Whenever you look at our canteens here, we find one. I pulled one off here for you. So your stainless steel canteen, And then you have your heating pot. You can cook in this if you want to. Typically what I would use this for is just use this. It's got your little handles on the side. You can use this to actually boil your water, guys. And that's going to help you keep from getting sick. Something else to think about when it comes to aluminum, certain types of chemicals, if you're using those little water purification tablets and stuff. While I haven't seen anything where it will actually react poorly with aluminum, there may be some brands that will. You have to think about aluminum. It can be very volatile with certain types of chemicals as well. Let's check this other section out here. So again, we have more food in here. So the other one was biscuits, I believe. This here is spaghetti and meatballs. These Mountain House, you used to be able to get these at Walmart pretty cheap. They're kind of expensive now, and they have a very long shelf life on them. So these here are still good until 2051 is what it says. So that's crazy. But it's not something you're going to have to come in and take out of your pack every couple of years or even every few months. It's going to last you a while. So then some more biscuit and gravy. Then we have some of this legacy premium food. So this is like your pasta and things. They have different types of stuff. And this is all very easy to do. Just open it up, boil your water. You want to remove that oxygen absorber out of it first. Put your boil of water in and just let that sit for about 5 minutes and it's going to be ready to go, ready to eat. So then this here is one of my favorite pieces to have, is a good trauma kit. So you're going to run into right here, we have a lot of different types of sutures and your safety type of scalpels and stuff. Then you're going to have some basic surgical tools and stuff like that. You don't know what kind of situation you're going to run into in the woods, so I would highly recommend that you keep a good trauma kit as well. We also have these different types of blood clot agents and stuff like that in this as well. So if you have something and not hit an artery, you don't have to worry about getting in there doing some kind of a surgery. You can use super glue to actually surgically seal up a cut, or you can use traditional sutures, or you can use that clotting agent, which actually just basically just put a powder on. It stings like a son of a gun, but you're good to go and you're not going to be bleeding everywhere. See what else we got here. Yeah, so again, good pair of surgical stitches. These are actually designed to remove your staples and things like that. So we have surgical stapler and stuff. And then maybe you don't want to carry those large food packs with you, and I can understand that. So what I've got here is these are some of these small bills. This is just enough for one person, and they're plant-based. They have a about a 10-year shelf life on them according to the so 10 years. So this is good till 2032. But it's just different types of food. It's not going to take up as much room as those larger bags and stuff. So this is that stuff I was telling you about that will actually stop the bleeding. It comes in a small tube like this. And that is just a powder. You will pierce the end of it with that point there. And then you would just put it inside an open wound. And it will seal that up for you quickly. It'll make it stop bleeding. Works very well. Then, of course, your typical Band-Aids and gauze packs and things like that. You want to make sure that you have that as well. Which we've got a lot of different types. I mean, I've actually got a medical pack that is just set up as well. But that is a lighter pack that would be carried by like my dad or something like that. So he doesn't have to carry all the extra stuff. Which is always, something to think about if you have elderly in your group. You don't want to overload them with a 60 or 70 pound rucksack. You want it to be something that they can carry pretty easy. So something else that we have here is this is just bucktail is all this is. This is a great tinder for fire starting, guys. And something else that I have, this is actually an old pipe tobacco container. And one of the things that I do with it is I will actually keep, and this is a pain to open up. The reason why it's such a pain to open up is because it is water sealed. It is water sealed, and we keep our fire plugs in there. For those who don't know what those are, we did a video about some Bigfoot bushcraft here a while back, and those were, seemed like it went pretty well. A lot of people bought that, so you got the fire plugs, and you would get a really good striker. So here was a striker that come with that. It's just a nice piece of flint and steel, guys. Great stuff, Ferrisium rod. That's what I would recommend you put in your kit. You can put big lighters and things like that. They have a tendency when they get wet, that flint will actually get where it is wet and it will not ignite. So you need to make sure that you're thinking proactive. Something that if your pack gets wet, it's going to continue to strike. Now this here is when we go out and do a lot of hiking and stuff, we typically will bring a good trail guide, and I would recommend you do that. If there's an area you need to make sure that you have that you've walked through, then make you a general map. Make sure that you have some north-south ledgers and stuff so that when you're using your compass, it's easier to find where you're going to be at and where you're heading as well. But you want to make sure that you keep that on your person. Do not leave that out where other people can get it, because then they're going to know your route. And it's great to actually pass out amongst your bug out community. If you're meeting at certain locations, then they will know where to go. If you're not at a location and they're not at their location, then you always know that they're going to be moving to the next stockpile section. So that's why we kind of do that around here. Then something else that I like to keep on me as well is a magnesium stick. So this has flint on one side, a big magnesium rod, and all you have to do is shave this magnesium down, take your steel, and you're just going to strike that flint, guys. I'm not going to strike it in the house. I don't want to start throwing sparks everywhere. Then you want to make sure that you have a good compass. So this is one of those things. I keep this in the front pouch so it can actually be moved very easily to my person in a bug out situation. But you want to make sure that you have a really good compass and that you know how to use that compass as well. That's one of the things I think a lot of people, they'll go buy a compass and they don't actually know how to use it. So that's something we might show a little bit in here, or I might just post a link up to Survival Living. He's got a real good video made up on how to navigate via a compass. He also offers special classes to teach you that as well in his what's it called, I don't know, survival course type stuff. It's basic class for beginners, so you can learn how to do all those basic types of things as well. But that's basically what I've got in this pack here. We do actually have another pocket here. Oh, I wanted to show this to you as well. So you can carry a standard lantern. This does not have fuel in it right now, but I will keep a small bottle of fluid, which you just pour in here, and it's going to give you light. You can keep your battery operated lights and stuff like that as well. But this is going to last a lot longer than a battery. It's going to last several days just on a fill up. Now I understand that's for just basic navigating around a campsite. You don't want to leave this burning all day because it's going to give your location away. So that's something else that you need to really think about when you're doing bug out situations. So I hope that kind of gives you an idea of some things that you should be putting in your bug out pack. So things I didn't show are like knives, small hatchets and stuff like that. You can get cutting saws and stuff as well, or you could buy a kit that has all of that ready to go. And that would be a good piece to add in there as well. I know there's going to be, everyone has their own preference of what type of knife to use and stuff and what to put in their bag. So I'm not going to show a lot of that equipment just because it always turns into a, well, this is better than that type situation. But the thing is, anything is better than nothing is what you need to figure out on that situation. But the main thing I would make sure that you follow is you want to make sure that you have a clothing change, because you're going to get wet. You might fall into a creek or something and you need to warm up. So you need to make sure you have a change of clothes while those other clothes are drying out by the fire. You need to also make sure that you have at least a 72-hour supply of food for every person there. Now, maybe you don't want to carry it all in your pack, which I would recommend that you actually separate some of that stuff out, the smaller packs that we showed you. I put that type of stuff in my dad's bug out bag. That way he has his medical equipment he needs. He has basic equipment as well, but he also has food. He also has his water, his canteens and stuff like that. And his changes of clothes and stuff. But his pack is quite a bit lighter than mine, because I do carry quite a bit more stuff in mine. But that's something you need to look at, is for everyone that is in your group, make sure that they're packing their bug out bag to what they can actually carry, what they actually need as a necessity. Because if you overweigh them, they're not going to make it very far. So you have to take people's health into consideration as well. But I would highly recommend, make sure you have food, make sure you have change of clothes, make sure that you have fire, make sure you have your cutting implements, whether that be for, your hunting, for skinning animals, for scaling fish, for cutting logs and stuff like that. Whatever it is you need to do, cutting down limbs, bringing limbs, trimming them in to make your lean-tos, your A-frames, whatever style of cover you're going to make. Now, I don't keep a very large tarp with me. The main reason for that is because I don't really use them. I never have. I've always been the type I will go out and within half hour you can actually make an area where you're going to have some proper coverage. Now, you don't have to build a Taj Mahal of shelters, guys. You'll see that on these different channels where they're digging into the ground and stuff. Understanding the bug out situation, you should already have a location in mind of where you're heading that should have a large food supply there, and the supplies to build the shelter as well, ready to go. If you don't want to be going across this country with 150 pounds of garbage on your back, you just really don't. You want to be able to move quick. You want to be able to move quietly in the woods. Make sure that you have your water source, ways to purify your water as well, whether you're doing that via heat or via those purification tablets as well. And always have a good trauma kit in there with your first aid kit. Now understand that is separate of a standard first aid kit. Surgical staplers, sutures, your cutting implements, scalpels and stuff like that. You can get all that stuff very cheap. And what it is when you go online and you're looking for stuff, you want to find stuff for med school students that's out there, so they're going to actually have like the fake skin that they use in the college, where you can actually focus on how to stitch up wounds and stuff. There's so many different aspects that you can use. And yeah, I know I mentioned that you can actually use super glue. That is actually something that they use in the ERs and stuff. There's a very large gash, but there is not a lot of like artery damage or something. They will actually come in and they will use a glue, and it's basically the same formula as super glue. They'll put it in, they'll pinch it shut, it'll seal them up, and you can continue moving. I would recommend, if you do use that you make sure that you do a proper butterfly bandage on top of it, just give it some extra strength, because you don't start tearing your flesh open. That would be really bad. But I hope that kind of gives you an idea of what maybe you should be looking at putting in your bug out bag, guys. But I'm going to hop off here. I hope everyone has had a great day. We'll talk to you later.